Goop is Gwyneth Paltrow's lifestyle website where she puts her stamp of approval on all manner of pseudoscientific bullshit. Anything from $60 jade eggs you're supposed to shove in your vagina to a $200 box that contains a rock and a feather. It's basically for people with more money than sense. And as Goop has grown from a humble email newsletter into an Oprah-esque empire that it is today, more and more people have become vocally critical of the website, saying that they're basically trying to rip off women. One of those critics is Dr. Jen Gunter, a gynecologist who has been pretty thorough in her debunking of pretty much every word that comes out of Gwyneth Paltrow's mouth. Apparently, Gunter recently hit a sore spot because Goop has posted one of the biggest over-the-top whiny diatribes I've ever seen. Frankly, I got a little tear in my eye just reading it. That's how proud I was of Gunter for inspiring such a giant baby tantrum. Goop starts off by doing what it does best, writing self-contradictory nonsense. They first put down the idea of indiscriminate attacks that question the motivation and integrity of the doctors who contribute to the site. And then 3 sentences later, they say, what we don't welcome is the idea that questions are not okay. So questions are always okay unless the questions make them uncomfortable. Got it. They then, and by the way, when I say they, I'm referring to all of Goop. There's no single byline here. Reference Dr. Gunter without ever actually mentioning her name or linking to her website. Then there's this gem referencing Dr. Gunter's strangely confident assertion that putting a crystal in your vagina would put you in danger of getting toxic shock syndrome, or TSS. Yeah, what a strange thing that a gynecologist would suggest that sticking a rock in your vagina might be bad for you. Goop says there is no study/case/report which links TSS and sticking rocks in your vagina. But maybe that's because until Goop came along, doctors didn't have an epidemic of women sticking crystals in their pussies to study, so they have to study other things, like other non-menstrual related TSS cases. And there are many, including TSS caused by barrier contraceptives that have been left in the vagina for too long, like more than 24 hours. They've also found that TSS can appear in women who are wounded and then infected. Gosh, I wonder how sticking a rock into your vagina might possibly cause some sort of laceration that may end up getting infected, leading to TSS. It really is strange, isn't it, Goop? Next, Goop claims that Dr. Gunter stated, with 100% certainty that conventional tampons laden with glyphosate, classified by the World Health Organization as probably carcinogenic, are no cause for concern. Obviously, they didn't bother to link to where Gunter wrote this, as they haven't even bothered to mention her name yet, because apparently she's like Voldemort or Beetlejuice, where if you say her name, she will appear out of thin air and rip the crystal out of your vagina. But luckily, I did find the post that they're referring to, and here is what Dr. Gunter actually said. There are no toxins in tampons. Really, I can say this with 100% certainty, as a toxin is a preformed poisonous substance made by an organism. Think botulinum toxin or the bee venom that you have used to reset your humors. Awesome. So glyphosate is a pesticide, not a toxin. She defines it in the sentence that Goop is taking out of context to misrepresent her. And yet they either didn't understand it or they just ignored it. They end that paragraph by accusing Dr. Gunter of attacking Goop only for the web traffic. You'll notice that nowhere in that insult is there an actual argument. That's what we call an ad hominem attack. We're only about halfway through here, by the way, so settle in. The next paragraph accuses Goop's critics of considering women lemmings who jump off a cliff when one of their doctors suggests that women might ask their doctors about having low vitamin D. I'm not sure if Goop noticed, but their most prominent critics, including the only one that they've thus far singled out without naming, are women. They say we, presumably women, simply want information. Leaving aside the not so subtle transition to an us versus them narrative where Goop is the one that represents all of women and all the critics are these men, I guess, who aren't lemmings and are just interested in insulting women and, you know, something blah, blah, misogyny. Leaving all that aside, information is what critics like Dr. Gunter want. All you simply want is information. All we want is information. All we want to do is to spread real information. And that includes things that debunk the bullshit that your doctors are peddling. Goop is the one complaining about an alternative viewpoint that's being offered here. They claim that they allow women to, and I quote, hear directly from doctors. We see no reason to interpret or influence what they're saying to tell you what to think. No, you don't interpret or influence what they're saying because all they ever say is to buy the products that you're selling. That would be like McDonald's issuing a statement that they don't interfere with what Mayor McCheese has to say. They just let him talk and then allow the consumer to decide whether or not to supersize their meal. Any nasty critic claiming that the excess of their food is bad for people's health are just trying to get attention. So just listen to the mayor. He is a mayor, after all. He went to mayor school. Supersize your meal. Next, Goop plays up their doctor's authority. They publish in peer-reviewed journals and train at the best institutions, and they, and I quote, aggressively maintain an open mind, which doesn't sound like what an open-minded person should actually do. I mean, it makes them sound like if you show one of them the tons of evidence we have proving that vaccines don't cause autism, they're just going to punch you in the mouth. I'm aggressively open-minded. Then Goop tries to define science for you. Here's their best attempt. The thing about science and medicine is that it evolves all the time. Studies and beliefs that we held sacred even in the last decade have since been proven to be unequivocally false and sometimes even harmful. No, Goop. No, bad Goop. Nothing is sacred in science. Nothing. That's the point of science. Everything is open to question, and when new data appears, we adjust. But while nothing is sacred in science, it appears that there are about 146 things that are sacred on the Goop website, at least according to Google. For instance, the Sacred Creators Oracle set, which is a $44 deck of tarot cards. Next, they throw in one for the lawyers and the folks over at the Federal Trade Commission and the Food and Drug Administration who might be watching, assuring us that they don't ask anyone to, say, refuse chemotherapy. And that's true, as far as I can tell. They've just asked questions and given a platform to people who are selling quack cancer cures as a complement to things like chemo. Because nothing is more fun than fighting cancer while also shelling out loads of money for, an at-home infrared sauna that Gwyneth Paltrow has led you to believe is the equivalent of hyperthermia cancer treatments, which are still being studied to find out if they might slightly help patients on chemo, but which have nothing at all to do with $5,000 at-home infrared saunas. Yeah, that sucks. Goop then accuses critics of calling women hypochondriacs and dismissing them for their health concerns. And once again, they don't actually link to any criticism that says that because it does not exist. We know women have health problems that for years have been understudied and have left female patients underserved. That's what makes women a prime target for quacks who want to swoop in and provide what the mainstream medical establishment has not: attention, compassion, and hope for a promised cure that may or may not actually exist. People are more likely to fall for nonsense when they're vulnerable, when they're marginalized, when they're dismissed. And that's why, for instance, phone scams tend to target lonely elderly people at home. Critics like Dr. Gunter are simply trying to stop scam artists from taking advantage of women while also helping educate women on their bodies and the actual medical science that we know and understand today. Goop ends up bashing critics who prejudge information before they've even taken the time to read or understand it, which is pretty rich considering that they opened by completely misrepresenting Dr. Gunter's point about toxins and tampons. They then claim their critics believe that they singularly own the truth. That's a truly astonishing level of projection. If I or Dr. Gunter or any other critic believed that we owned the truth, what would that look like? I guess we would put it out there by, addressing our critics without ever actually naming them or citing their work or reproducing their arguments. Then we'd say we were right because of our college degrees or our number of published papers and not because of the strength of our arguments. Then I suppose we would personally sell products that we endorse, creating a ridiculous conflict of interest. Of course, if it's a product that we're not equipped to sell, like an enormous $5,000 at-home infrared sauna, for instance, we would just make a deal with a company that does sell those so that we would make money whenever someone buys one after they click through our article about how effective hyperthermia treatments are for patients with cancer. Yeah, that'd be a pretty fucking slimy thing to do, just to pick something completely at random. That's what it would look like when someone thinks they own the truth. People who think that they own the truth also think that they can sell it. And we're sorry, Goop, but not all of us are buying it.